claimed the internet ruined their lives. To me, that always sounded so dramatic. Like, come on. Close the laptop, log off, and move on, right? I don't laugh anymore. It started on a calm, boring, rainy night like any other. For context, my name is Malik. I'm a bartender in my mid-20s. Despite the image of a typical bartender most people seem to have in mind, I'm actually really not the type of person to have a huge circle or go to a lot of raves or parties. My idea of fun is dicking around with a few close friends in one of our apartments or houses, order pizza, play video games, have a couple of beers, roll a joint. This one night, I was doing exactly that with my good friend Ben. We were mindlessly scrolling through random forums, listening to the never-ending pitter-patter of the rain hitting the window. That's when Ben got that familiar, mischievous grin on his face, the grin that always meant trouble was coming. "Ever been on the deep web?" he asked. I groaned. "Don't start with that shit again." But Ben never let go. Once he had an idea, within minutes, he had pulled up Tor, clicking through layers of sites that looked like relics of the early internet. Most were scams, obviously, but then we stumbled across something that made my stomach knot. A listing for a Hitman service. The page was bare bones, just a grainy photo of a skull, a phone number, and a single line of text that read, "For when you need someone gone." Ben chuckled, shaking his head. "Think it's real?" "I don't know," I muttered. "I wouldn't try to find out, though, unless you want to end up on an FBI watch list." That's when he had the dumbest idea of his life. "We should call it as a joke." I told him no, repeatedly, but Ben, slightly tipsy on beer and his own stupidity, began dialing the number and hit speakerphone. It rang once, twice, then a voice, low, calm, and cold, answered.
"Yes?"
Ben snickered. "Yeah, hi. I just wanted to ask, are you as good at slaying pussy as you are at slaying people?" "Ben, what the fuck?" I hissed, my stomach dropping. Silence. The voice didn't laugh, didn't hang up. Just deathly silence. The loudest, most tense silence I've ever experienced, until the low, calculating voice came back through the speaker a moment later.
"Room 641, 6827, 6th and Elm, Lincoln, Nebraska."
Holy shit, Ben. "That's my address," I whispered before he could finish, every syllable tight with panic. Ben hung up immediately, fear lighting up his face like fireworks as he turned to stare back at me. There was something about that voice that didn't sound like a scammer. It sounded professional. He said, "I fucking told you not to do that, Ben." I snapped. "I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. I thought we were safe with the VPN, I swear." He replied, "It'll be okay, though. I'm sure he just wanted to scare us. But if you want, you can even stay at my place tonight." "No, it's too far, and I have to work early tomorrow." "Well, at least, let me pay for a hotel room for you for the night. It's the least I can do, just to give you some peace of mind for a bit. till this all blows over. I did take him up on that offer, figuring it was the least he could do after the bullshit he pulled. I stayed in a hotel room nearby for the next couple of days after the call, even almost managed to forget about it, until I got back home a few days later. As I arrived, I noticed a black sedan I hadn't seen before parked across the street from my building. I didn't think much of it. City life, right? But then it was there again the next day, and the next. I started getting that feeling. The one where the hairs on your neck rise, and you get the sensation that you're prey being watched. One evening, while taking out the trash, I saw a man standing in the alley. Long coat, hands in his pockets. He didn't move when I passed, didn't even flinch, just tracked me with his eyes. I ran upstairs and locked the door. I stayed on constant alert, trying as hard as possible to stay within view of my apartment building's cameras at all times, and I think that's what was saving me at first. But the man didn't go away. It escalated fast. I'd hear footsteps behind me at night, turning corners to find no one there. My apartment door would have fresh scratches on the lock, like someone was testing it. One morning, I opened my window blinds and nearly screamed. The man was across the street, staring directly up at me. Same coat, same stillness. That was the day I packed a bag. I left the city, drove across state lines, and tried to start over in a nowhere town in South Dakota. Got a new phone entirely and changed my phone number. Quit social media. Everyone I knew thought I was insane, but I didn't care. I gave my new number to just a select few close friends. The only person who understood, who listened to me, and to whom I told where I was going, was Ben. He felt bad and agreed to send me some money to help me rebuild my new life in a new city. For one whole blessed month, nothing happened. I almost convinced myself it was all over. Winter had just begun to settle in, and the first snows were drifting down across the quiet streets. Those days felt almost peaceful. The world muffled beneath a soft white blanket, every sound dulled, as if the city itself were holding its breath. At night, I'd watch the flakes blowing past the street lights, swirling lazily like ash in the wind. For the first time in months, I slept through the night, the silence outside my window broken only by the distant blowing of the wind, carrying the late night's snow in its wake, was calm, too calm. Until one night I was closing up at the gas station where I'd found work, and in the reflection of the glass door, I saw him, standing by the pumps, watching me. It was him. I was sure it was him. My hand shook as I killed the lights and fumbled with the keys. I finished closing up as fast as I could and slipped out the back, heart hammering so hard I worried it might echo loud enough for him to hear it ringing out through the calm night air. I didn't dare go home. I parked down the block, engine off, breath fogging the windows as I huddled in the dark, eyes fixed on my house. Every flicker of movement made me flinch. Every passing headlight set my nerves on fire. And all the while, I kept waiting for the moment he'd step out of the dark and come for me. The stalking grew unbearable. I barely slept. My mind was filled with constant paranoia. I couldn't even call the police. I had no proof, not even a clear look at his face. And what would I say? My friend prank called a hitman, and now he's after me. I realized the only way out was to confront him. It was either me or him. So I built a trap. He shadowed my every move, learned my schedule and all my habits, waiting for the perfect moment. I was able to use it against him, lured him into an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. I left a trail, made a phone call, knowing with almost complete certainty by this point that it had been bugged somehow. Sitting on a bench in a public park, I spoke into the microphone, not shouting, but just loud enough for anyone passing by to hear pieces of my conversation. I made it seem like I'd be going there alone later that night. Then it was time to channel my inner Home Alone. I rigged a section of the floor with broken boards, set up heavy shelving units I could tip over, improvised weapons within reach. When he came, it was silent. No grand entrance, just the whisper of light footsteps on concrete. I waited, heart pounding, until he stepped onto the weakened boards. They gave way, his leg plunging through. I tipped the shelf. It crashed down, pinning him. For the first time, I saw his face up close, calm, unflinching, professional. "Why?" I demanded, holding a metal pipe like a bat. "Why are you after me?" It was just a stupid prank call. He just stared at me, his eyes dead, expression cold. I slammed the ground hard with the pipe. "Start talking," I shouted.
"You've got it wrong. The contract was real. Someone wants you gone,"
he finally said. That's when my stomach dropped. If it wasn't the prank call. "Who?" I asked.
"Can't tell you that,"
he replied, his voice deadpan. "You will tell me," I shouted, a sharp edge of fury lining my voice. In response, all I got was a dead, unflinching stare. I swung before I realized what I'd done. He went limp as I crushed his skull with the pipe. I had no choice. I know that deep down, but a part of me still carries the weight of that moment, even now. I bent down to make sure he was really dead before searching him, eventually pulling a burner phone from one of his pockets. I was able to unlock it using his fingerprint and began sifting through, trying to find whatever information on this man that I could. There wasn't much. He'd done a good job of covering his tracks. No photos, no names, no history, just fragments, numbers, coordinates, disposable messages. But what I did find made my whole world flip upside down. Buried in his recent texts was a single thread, short and clinical, but unmistakable. A contract, my name, my address, a date, and at the top of the thread, the client's name. It wasn't anonymous. It wasn't random. It was Ben, my best friend. But why? I wondered in shock. Suddenly it all made sense. How the hitman always managed to know my every move, no matter what I did. Ben was the only person I'd confided in. That's when something came back, a memory I had buried. Months earlier, I'd been at Ben's house. He lived with his parents, who were obscenely wealthy, the kind of old money rich that made me feel like a peasant. I remembered wandering the halls that night and hearing strange noises, moans, muffled cries coming from the basement. I had almost opened the basement door before Ben's mother appeared, slamming it shut with a smile too tight.
Best not go down there.
She'd said.
We keep Ben's grandparents there. They're getting old now, and they're not exactly what I'd call stable enough to meet a stranger. Just old age catching up with them.
It was weird, but I believed her. I had no reason not to, really. But clearly, they didn't believe me. They thought I knew more than I did. Now I had to know. What was really down there? I ended up dumping the Hitman in a nearby lake in the woods. After that, I drove 4 hours directly back to my place in Nebraska. I just crashed on the bed the second I arrived, tears welling up in my eyes as the wave of emotions hit me, and I reflected on everything I'd gone through over the course of the past few months. The relief, the betrayal, everything. But it wasn't over. Not yet. I still had just one last thing I needed to do. The next night, I drove to Ben's estate, climbed a tree to get over the gate. The memory of Ben once using the spare key to open the door filled my mind as I tried to think back on where it was hidden. Within a couple of minutes, I found it, hidden amongst the decorative plants outside the back door. I used it to get inside, found the basement door again. This time, I went down. The smell hit me first, rot, sweat, despair. Then I saw them, about half a dozen people, huddled in a big cage, thin, broken, terrified, a trafficking ring right under Ben's house. They looked at me like I was their only hope. Everyone be as quiet as possible. I'm going to get you out of here, I said, as reassuringly as I could. I started looking for a key, but wasn't able to find one. I had to improvise. My hands shook as I grabbed a rusted pipe from the corner and jammed it into the padlock. I twisted with everything I had until the metal screeched and gave way. I froze as the lock clattered to the floor, holding my breath. When nothing happened after a few seconds, I slowly let myself exhale and helped the captives slip out one by one. After that, I called the police anonymously. By the time they arrived, I was gone. I haven't heard anything about it since. Maybe they were caught by the police. My gut says they weren't. I don't know where the hostages went. I'm home now. I should feel like a hero. But I don't. I can't sleep. I can't shake the feeling that Ben's family will send more men after me in revenge. That first hitman they sent wasn't the end. He was just the beginning. These people, they won't stop. They erase problems. And I'm the biggest problem of all. So, I'm writing this now, in case I disappear. For the record, I'm not suicidal, but by the time you're reading this, I may already be gone. Don't trust your best friend.